Hello, this is Todd Luck, and this is a review of a documentary about an artist who started out doing a wide variety of comic books from every genre known to man, everything from Buck Rogers to the Western version of Ghost Rider, romance comics, you name it, he did it. And no matter what he did, he brought real quality to it, even to funny animal stuff. He did some outstanding funny animal comics, and then he got to be the ghost artist on Little Abner for many, many years and found success there. And when the comic stuff dried up, when he couldn't get work doing that, he ended up doing movie posters and some big movies, big stars, and he found success doing that. And let's see, I think he did something after that. What was it? Oh yeah, he did novel covers, which defined the look of modern sword and sorcery and made him one of the most influential fantasy artists of modern times. This is a review of Frazetta, Painting with Fire. This is a documentary about the fantasy artist Frank Frazetta, and we're taking a look at the standalone DVD release of this. And this is a 2-disc set, and I highly recommend getting this version of it because it has all of the extras, and believe me, they are worth it. This came out in 2003, and the first disc here is also included with some special editions of the movie Fire and Ice, but DVD is the only way to watch this documentary right now that I know of, or at least the only legitimate way to watch it. Now, there is some effort by the director to upscale this with AI and do a 4K release on streaming at some point, but I'm not sure when that's going to happen. I wish him the best of luck. I think this documentary is fantastic and should be available to the widest audience possible. Every aspect of this documentary was done with care. You're greeted with these gorgeous paintings on each of the discs when you open it up. However, as much love as went into this documentary, I do want to set some realistic expectations for it. It was released in 2003. It took several years for them to shoot it using the digital video that was available at the time. And so tube TVs were still being used back then, those big, heavy boxes that had much lower resolution than the flat screens we have today. And so that is what this documentary was made for. And so to get it at the correct aspect ratio, I had to adjust my TV to 4:3. And the resolution is going to be noticeably lower than a modern movie. However, getting past technical limitations, this is a documentary that has a fantastic visual flair. It goes out of its way to use effects to make Frazetta's paintings come to life with motion, and it has a really epic soundtrack, and the artwork still looks fantastic on there. And they do, of course, show you a lot of Frazetta's artwork throughout his career, from, of course, his most famous fantasy works, but also all that stuff I was talking about earlier with the comics and the movie posters and stuff that, you know, guys like me who aren't that familiar with Frazetta just learned so much just seeing that stuff and was like, wow, I can't believe this guy did so much. And I think the dated nature of the video in the documentary really works in its favor. It just feels authentic to the time it was made in and the time that it is talking about. It has almost a home video quality to it, or at least it's closer to a home video than the video we have now, right? I think sometimes stuff shot in HD just looks so much nicer than it does in real life. It has a certain unreality to it, and this just has a nice, authentic feel to it. You know, it feels very real, which, you know, it should. It's a documentary. This is about Frazetta and his artwork and the people he's touched with that artwork and his family and his friends and his childhood and all the things he accomplished and all the things he didn't accomplish in his life. Did you know the man was almost drafted into a professional baseball team? It's just crazy the stuff you learn. And even more impressive is the people that they get to talk about Frazetta's work. All these different artists, like for instance, here you got Kevin Eastman, creator of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, at the time owner of Heavy Metal, with Simon Beasley, who worked with Frazetta on the Veritech comics, And here we have Dave Stevens, Mike Kaluta, and Bernie Wrightson sitting around a table talking about Frazetta. It is amazing the amount of major artists that Frazetta knew personally or influenced. So for instance, he knew Roy Krinkle and Hal Foster, who were both classic Tarzan artists. And they also in this documentary interview Joe Jusko, who is doing the covers for the current printings of the Tarzan novels. And some of the artists that they talked to have passed away since the making of this documentary. So, for instance, we have John Buscema here, who did the Marvel Conan comics. And we also see interviews with Neil Adams and Al Williamson, just some really incredible artists. There's a few celebrity interviews as well. They interview the always delightful Bo Derek and John Milius, who is the director of the first Conan the Barbarian movie. And of course, they talk about Fire and Ice, Ralph Baci's animated movie where he attempted to bring Frazetta's work to life. The extras on the second disc include the set diary by Dave Hannon, which revealed some major plot points that didn't make it onto the screen, but that's also included in the DVD releases of Fire and Ice as well. And yes, you will get some hilarious interviews with Ralph Bakshi, and there's a lot of extras with outtakes and stories that he tells as well. One thing that I learned here was that a cover that Frazetta did for Tarzan and the Lost Empire is what launched his career doing paperback novel covers. Of course, this would lead into him getting more work, including those Conan covers that he would become so famous for. And it's not just a documentary about his art, but also about his life, about his family, his mother, his children, his grandchildren, his wife Ellie, who didn't want to be interviewed, but they do a great job of showing what a big influence she had on his life and running his business. And it talks about how Frazetta grew up, and we get to see him reunite with some old friends. And it talks about how he plays sports and how he collects cameras and just all kinds of little things. And it's just really cool to see insight into Frazetta outside of his artwork. And we even get to see a ribbon cutting for a new location for the Frazetta Museum, which, by the way, still exists. It's just in a different location in Florida. But the documentary does have its somber and sad moments as well. Frazetta, later in his life, did have some very serious health problems that really took a toll on him physically and unfortunately took away his ability to really do artwork with his right hand. But he actually managed to teach himself to draw and paint with his left hand, which is pretty remarkable if you've ever tried using both hands for something that complex. And I got to tell you, I think he does just fine with that other hand. It is pretty remarkable that he could still keep going. And so as impressive as it is for the documentary to cover all that, the documentary itself is really just the beginning of what you're getting with the DVD set. All the menus for the DVDs are extraordinary. They bring Frazetta's work to life with animation and special effects and sound effects and the epic soundtrack from this documentary. There's just so much love put into every single menu, every single special feature, and boy, are there a lot of special features. Every single thing that filmmakers got a hold of, they put them on here somewhere. This is just such a treasure trove of interviews and video footage and artwork and family home videos. There's even a 22-minute montage of Frazetta family photos on here. It's just so incredible, the amount of stuff. The only thing that is a little bit unfortunate is that some of the artwork does suffer from the low resolution, but for the most part, it looks great. One weird quirk that I found was that on the behind the scenes videos that they have under the extras on disc 1, they're supposed to play a behind the scenes clip and then go into the part of the movie that is related to the clip you just watched. And once it dumps you out into the movie, I needed to press pop menu on the remote for my Blu-ray player. I didn't know this while doing the review and kept pressing top menu, which dumped me out on the main menu, and it took forever. So remember, kids, pop menu is your friend. And there's a lot of stuff in these behind the scene clips that's worth watching. I would definitely recommend watching Frank Frazetta talking about his Conan paintings. I recommend watching all of the extras if you can, because it's not just a treasure trove, it's also an Easter egg hunt. If you watch the Frank drawing extra, and this is a video of him drawing a panther with his left hand, it will unlock a new menu which will show you home videos of the Frazetta family. And when you're watching the videos, you're actually going to hear a phone interview Frazetta did with a reporter, and he talks about the Veritek comics that they did in the 90s. I completely forgot that they put out the first Death Dealer comics back in the 90s. And Frazetta talks about Fire and Ice, and he talks about how he would like to do a Death Dealer movie. And it also mentions Jaguar God, which I had no idea was a Frazetta property. I thought Simon Beasley created it, but wow, that is a discovery. And again, there's just so much stuff you're going to learn here that you're going to be like, oh man, I want to hunt that down or see if I can get that in comic books or trade paperback or in a book or whatever. And so, yes, I do absolutely recommend the documentary, and the special features is an investment in time, but it is well worth it. And I think this is a fitting tribute to Frank Frazetta, a man whose artwork and life touched so many people. And I'm going to leave us with a Frazetta work of my favorite Burroughs novel, or one of my favorite Burroughs novels, Thuvia Made of Mars. All right, guys, like and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, see ya.